Hello, hi everyone. Thank you everyone for joining the webinar this afternoon. It's great to see so many people that have signed in. Today in the session, we're going to be looking at colourful semantics and picture support within Clicker. Now, before we do get started, just a couple of things. The first thing is we are recording this session, so you will receive a recording a couple of days after, I believe. So you will get a recording, you can download it and share it with your colleagues. And I do have two of my colleagues actually today. I've got Charlotte and Rosa. They will be answering any questions that you might have. So if you do have a question, just pop it in the Q&A box in the meeting, and then yeah, they'll get around to answering your question right away. Now, and just before we join, just a bit of an introduction. So my name's Andrew. I'm one of the senior education consultants here at Crick Software. Been here for about 5 years now, and prior to that, I used to be a Year 4 teacher. And I'm joined today by Tom. So I'll pass over to Tom so he can introduce himself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tom McDonald, and I'm an assistive technology consultant, and I work at Access Technology. We're based in Ripon in North Yorkshire, and previous to that, I have a background as a special needs teacher, and I have experience of using communication and language literacy strategies with pupils from all age groups, right down from early years up to sixth form.
Brilliant. No, thank you for that, Tom. So in the session today, we're going to cover a number of different things, and the session is due to last for about 30 minutes. So in the webinar, we're going to be looking at using Clicker to create a range of colourful semantics activities to support writing. We are going to dive into some of the pre-made resources we've got as well. We've got a fantastic area called Learning Grid with over 3,000 pre-made resources that can be adapted as well. And then we're also going to have a look at including some picture support within Clicker. I know for this session, we're going to specifically look at widget symbols, because I know, Tom, that's what you used in your blog post, which is great. So yeah, that's what we're going to kind of dive into in today's session. But before we go into it, something I wanted to mention was we had the great opportunity to talk with Alison. Actually, she was the founder of Colourful Semantics. Had a really great talk with her, getting a really good insight into kind of what it's used for, obviously the colours that are used, and why it's used as well, which is really important and really powerful. And as we're going through the session, I know Tom will cover this as we go through, but the colours we're using, these are the ones that I spoke to Alison about. But we understand that things are constantly adapted in lots of different settings. So there might be colours today that we use, and you might use different ones, which is completely fine. I know Tom before, and we'll touch on this again, but me and Tom was talking about the consistency. So as long as something's consistent, it can still be powerful, and of course, and that's what the old learners will be used to. So the colours that we use, these are the ones that I've spoken to Alison about when we've been creating these resources. But like I said, if you use your own colours, that's absolutely fine. Just use what we're going through and apply it kind of what your school is used to at the moment. Now, but just to start though, Tom, just to come back to you then. Kind of in your kind of like background, why is colourful semantics useful for supporting the pupils that you work with?
Well, I think it's a fantastic scaffolding strategy, and it uses those colour-coded cues to break down the parts of a sentence, and that really helps pupils to read and then construct those sentences again. You use it alongside a visual stimulus, so you might use the pictures from a storybook, or you might use photos, maybe personal ones from the child, and you're constantly eliciting that information from them. So who is in the picture? What are they doing? Where are they? So the boy is in the picture, and then you're constructing that sentence all the time. And then by breaking it down in those colour-coded cues, you're able to sort of put the verbs and the nouns into separate areas, really. But for many of the learners that I work with at the beginning of their sort of language and literature journey, it's a really good introduction to help them construct those sentences.
Yeah. And going into the first section that we're going to look at, colourful semantics, we're going to use two different types of Clicker activities. So within Clicker, if you're brand new to what Clicker is, it's reading and writing software. And within Clicker, we've got a range of activities that we call the Clicker sets. Now, the two Clicker sets that I'll be focusing on today with Tom are the sentence sets and the connect set. So those are the two that we're going to look at today when we're creating these resources. But just before, Tom, I go into the sentence set, what are some of the things that we might want to consider when we create the sentence to begin with?
Well, for some of my learners, I sometimes use a keyword approach as well. So we're taking away determinants, things like the or a, and we're using keywords as well. So that can be important. But yeah, having the different types of sentence set or connect set. I think the connect set we've talked about before, Andrew, really sort of brings in that extra element of challenge, I guess. So you're able to sort of give more challenge and have a different variety of nouns and verbs in there to help form those sentences as well.
Yeah, it's going to be really nice when we come on to the connect set. I really liked developing that. But starting with the sentence set. So to get to this screen, we would go click a set and then click new. And I'm going to go into my sentence set to begin with. Now, in here, we've got this really nice pop-up, and all we have to do in here is write our sentences, each one on a new line. And you can have as many sentences as you want as well. But for our first example, I'm just going to do one sentence, and that will be the girl was running and then in the field. Okay, so each one would be on a new line with a full stop at the end. So I've got my first sentence. Now, what's also important to note, just before I click OK, is when you put brackets around anything, it will combine words into a single cell. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. So by clicking OK, as you can see, it's just broken that sentence down into individual words. And the aim is to put this back together, hopefully in the correct order. But looking at this from the perspective of Colourful Semantics, let's have a look at doing that and applying kind of that information. So first of all, we'll be looking at kind of like the verb. So you know what's happening. So the running is taking place. And as you can see, by putting brackets around it, it will combine it into a single box. And then what we can do is I'm just going to change the background color here to white just to make it clear. And when speaking to Alison, she mentioned the verbs, making them yellow. So here we go. So all we have to do on the right hand side is just go into that paint palette, select the cell, and just change the color. Now, going back to what I mentioned earlier, if you do use a different color, that is absolutely fine. But using this now, and we are going to put it in, we're going to put it in sentence order as well, just so we can keep that structure. But what we're going to do now is, we're going to ask, okay, so who was running? So we're going to look at this, and we're going to, so the girl was running. We're going to combine that. And then finally, we're going to have a look at, where was this taking place, which is in the field. So same again, just putting brackets around that. There we go. Now, using Colourful Semantics, so we've got the running, and now it's important to kind of ask those questions. So who was running? Well, it was the girl. So what we do, in a similar way that we had was running, we click on the cell, click on the paint palette here, and then we would color code this orange. So there we go. So we've got the girl was running, and using that same kind of logic behind the scheme of Colourful Semantics, we take the verb of was running, and now we ask it, okay, kind of, well, where did this running take place? Well, it took place in the field. So what we do is we would select that cell, same again, go into the paint palette, and then we would select a variety of the different shades of blue there. And that's kind of how easy it is, really. So, to create these resources, within Clicker, we don't have lots of, advanced menus and pop-ups. We really wanted to take it back to supporting that learner. That's what's really important. I know, Tom, we mentioned as well about changing the level of support as well. So in the model of the sentence, I know specifically you mentioned kind of like view and copy, view and remember. But what we do now, once we've developed that one sentence or multiple sentences, what we do is at the top here, we would click go. And then there we go. So we run the activity now just by adding that sentence in, color coding it, or obviously using Colourful Semantics. And then at the top here, we've got the view and copy, so we can permanently see that full sentence. And what's really great as well is if we click on this,
the girl was running in the field.
We'll read it back to us and highlight those words. And actually using this sentence set now, we can then click on the cells and it will insert it into the document above, which is really nice. So the girl was running.
The girl was running in the field.
And it will read it back to us. So we can relate it back to the full sentence. We've got the Colourful Semantics being involved in there. And then, of course, by putting that full stop in, it will read it back. So really good from like a review perspective, I suppose. But taking this on maybe a little bit further now. So we've got this sentence here, but we might want to add a bit more detail, I suppose. So going back into our clicker sets, I'm going to make another sentence set now. I'm going to use that same sentence. So the girl was running in the field. But what I'm going to do this time, and as I'm going to add in here some other options. So maybe like last week, so I'm going to put last week in there. The girl was running in the field. And then I might want to put in their new shoes, for example. So just expanding this ever so slightly. And then what I'm going to do, so same as before, I'm going to click OK. It will then break the sentence down for us. I'm going to put it straight away in sentence order. And this time I might want a view and remember. So we'll have a look at that in a second. But using that same, using what we used before, so was running. So we say again, go into that, and then we change this to yellow. And then, so who was running? The girl. So we would change this to orange. So where was the running taking place, like we looked at before, in the field. We changed this to blue just very quickly there. But now we've got two more now. So we've got last week and in their new shoes. So last week, so that's kind of when did this take place? So when did the running take place? So when I spoke to Alison, she mentioned that this would be a brown. And then the one that I spoke to Alison about was kind of like the how. So how did the running take place? So how did the girl run? Well, it was in her new shoes, and that was quite an abstract way that I had to think about that. And when speaking to Alison, she mentioned that this would be black. So as you can see there, we've used the same layout of the activities. We've still used the same initial sentence, but expanded on it. And then of course we might want to change the background to white this time, as you can see there. We've got view and remember that we'll look at in a second. But just like the previous sentence, I'm going to hit go again or hit run. As you can see, we've got the sentence very similar to the one previously, but now we've got a different level of support. And this one is called a view and copy. So we won't permanently see the full sentence, but what we can do at any point as that learner is we can click on the eye icon. The full sentence will appear, but we've got to retain that information before we put that sentence back together in the correct order. So it's really nice seeing it as like progression in a way. So how would we progress from that first sentence to another sentence, and offering just a range of different supports. Of course, each learner would have different needs and learning styles. But same again, we would go last week. The girl was running in the field in their new shoes, and then we put the full stop in.
Last week, the girl was running in the field in their new shoes.
So it'll read it back to us just like the previous sentence. We can review the work as we go along, and we can be confident now as a learner to say, yes, that was a sentence that I wanted to produce and put together in that document. And just before we move on to the Connect set, one thing that I'll mention as well is in all of these cells, if you right click, by the way, it will read it back to us as well.
The girl.
There we go. So we can just click on the individual cells if we need that level of support as well, rather than the full sentence. But coming back to what you said, Tom, about the Connect set. So we've looked at two sentence sets, but now we might want to make a little bit more of an open-ended activity that still follows the structure of a sentence. And that's really where our Connect sets come into play now. So same again, we would go click a set, click new, and I'm going to make a Connect set this time. So going into it, slightly different to a sentence set, but it's still the same kind of idea of putting that sentence back together in the correct order. And of course, we're still going to keep along the theme of Colourful Semantics. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change the background to white. And then editing these columns, all I'm going to do is click on the column and just change that content at the top. So using the same kind of layout as a sentence set, I'm going to put in here, let's go with last week, and say I'm putting those in brackets to keep it into a single box. Let's put in yesterday. We'll have let's put on Monday, and then one final one. Let's put last year. So as you can see, really quick now to do this. It hopefully saves us quite a lot of time. We're just going to add those in with brackets, and like we did before, looking at kind of where did this take place, we can color code that straight away, all at once in that brown color. Then moving on, so we've got last week, yesterday, on Monday. We might want the boy, we might want the girl, then we might want the man, and then we might want also the woman. There we go. Okay. And just like before, color coding these all at once, applying that knowledge that we've got, we're going to put that as orange. So last week, the boy or the girl. And now this is where we're going to add those verbs in. And we don't need to put these in brackets because we are just putting them in single kind of boxes. It's just individual words. So we're going to put walked, ran, and jumped. Okay, so we don't need brackets around those. And because it's the verb, we'll apply that yellow kind of color to those. And then we're going to move on to, okay, so where did the walking take place? Where did the running take place? And I know before we had in the field, so we're going to add that one back in. So in the field, we're going to also have in the park, and then we might want, on the road, or, so let's put on the road in there. There we go. Okay, and then using that same kind of the same colours as before. So where did the walking take place? In the field. Same again, wanting to colour code this all at once using those colourful semantics colours. We're going to do that all together. And then finally, we might want to add in, when we focused on this before with in their new shoes, in their new coat, for example, we're going to add those in there as well. So let's put in, in their new shoes and in their new, if I spell there right, the new coat. There we go. And then, of course, we're going to colour code these as black as per the sentence set we made just earlier. And if we do want any additional punctuation, we can just add it in there in the final column, just as you can see. And I really like the connect sets. And also, you might have something else to mention about these, but I just really like how they still keep the structure of the sentence, but they're such more of an open-ended activity for learners.
Yeah.
Great at developing independence. And so I don't know if you've got anything else to add. I'll just click run, Tom. But as you can see, comparing the three that we've created so far, so you've got the sentence set there with the view and copy. You've then got the more kind of detailed sentence with the view and remember. And then perhaps looking at progression, we might want to finish off with a connect set, as you can see here, still keeping all of those colours with colourful semantics, more open-ended, but still focusing on the developing the sentence from start to finish. Tom, I don't know if you have anything to add just on that note. I know just looking at the three activities we've created just before we move on to kind of like the widget symbol and the symbol and picture side of Clicker. Have you got anything to add, Tom, just as we've gone through those?
I think you explained that really well, Andrew, actually. Yeah, and I think it's important, yeah, that actually when you're doing that and you've got that visual as stimulus, then you are always using that language, modeling that language, eliciting things. So yeah, who's in the picture? Oh, the boy's in the picture. Or what's he doing? And you're constantly creating those sentences verbally with the pupils so that they get a good idea. And then once they come to do this work, they've heard it several times already. So yeah, really good.
Yeah, and just before we come on to the visual side of Clicker, looking specifically at widget symbols, just two things very quickly that I just wanted to mention, because I've just thought of it then, is once a pupil has produced a piece of work, we can just print this directly out from Clicker and also save it. It's identical to just any kind of word processor out there. So document save, document print, and as you can see, it prints off like an A4 Word document. But what's also important, I know Tommy mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, is that handwriting is still a really important skill to develop, handwriting. So what we can do is we can actually, in a way, we can take Clicker kind of outside of the screen, and all of these resources we created, we can actually print them out on paper as well. So to take it, and it works really well with the Connect sets, because what we can do is if we go click a set and then click print, obviously it would be, if we had more of these, and we had more sentences, it would be, we could print off more. But as you can see, we could print this out on paper. So this could be a cut out and stick activity. It could be that they just have it in front of them and then concentrating on handwriting. They would just copy out in their books, for example. So there's lots of ways that we can really embed Clicker throughout the school. And I should have mentioned this at the start as well, but Clicker does also work on Windows, Mac, iPad, and Chromebook. So what we've done today on the laptop, we can replicate that on iPads as well if we wanted to, with the colours and developing those sentences independently. So just so everyone's aware, we can print, we can save, so we can access the Clicker resources, these colourful semantics activities in a number of different ways, just kind of thinking outside the box in a way. So we've kind of gone through kind of creating those three activities there. But now we're going to come on to the symbol support that I know, Tom, you brought up in your blog post, which was great. And so, Tom, coming back to you. So, of course, you've used widget symbols in that blog. But what are the benefits of using maybe not just symbols, but also visual support? What are the benefits for the learners that you've been working with?
Well, yeah, so I use symbols as a strategy to help support that understanding when reading. So use symbols to help support that understanding of the vocabulary. So symbols can help support access to some vocabulary that might be new to pupils. So it's really good in terms of that method. And for, I think, symbols as well as a scaffolding approach when you're teaching new vocabulary. In Colourful Semantics as well, when I've used it in Colourful Semantics, because my focus is actually on constructing sentences, so first verbally and then reading and writing, actually it takes some of that pressure away of reading the words, which some of our learners may be very verbal, very able to talk about things, but actually their reading skills may be weaker. So it takes some of that focus and that pressure away from reading the single words, where they can actually have that symbol support to construct those sentences as well. So yeah, I love the use of symbols with Colourful Semantics. It fits really nicely, I think, with a lot of the learners that I've worked with as well.
Thank you for that, Tom. And looking at how, so going off what Tom's just said about the way that you use symbols. So of course we've created these 3 activities. Now, just so everyone's aware, you can always go back into the activity if you need to edit it, and that's what we're going to do now, actually, because we're going to take the second sentence set that we created here. So last week the girl was running in the field in their new shoes. And in the bottom left, hopefully everyone can see this. Apologies if it is a little bit too small on the screen, but in the bottom left, we've got a button called Edit Clicker Set, and it's always there. You can also access this from going Clicker Set and Edit as well. So you can either do it from the top ribbon or at the bottom. But I'm going to just go back into this edit screen here. And going off what you said, Tom, about incorporating widget into these Colourful Semantics activities, because they really complement each other. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the individual cell. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, we've just seen there, I'm going to go into, we've got a folder of widget symbols. And now these widget symbols, just so everyone's aware, these are an additional purchase alongside Clicker, because they're kind of owned by us in a way. But what we can do when we've got those widget symbols, we've got the widget color symbols here. I'm going to insert this in. So you find the picture, insert it, and as you can see, really nice. So the left-hand side, really clear, we've got that symbol support. So again, we're going to go into the girl. I'm just going to go back into widget symbols. I'm just going to type in girl for this one, see what comes up now. Just give it a second. Here we go. So I'm going to select this one now. So last week, the girl. Then again, go into this one. So was running. Instead, I might just want to take off was. I'm just going to put running in there. So I just have to delete the first part, and it might be, let's go into this one. So running, and then in the field. And of course, you can use the symbols that are appropriate. Obviously, we're just choosing ones from lots of them. You be specific in the ones that you're using. In the field, what comes up for this? Let's have a see. Oh, let's take that down to let's just put in field what comes up. Yeah, we've definitely got field. We've got field of view. There we go. Here we go. We've got field there. So we're going to insert the field, and then finally in their new shoes. So we're going to go back into widget symbols. I'm just going to type in shoes there, because we probably won't have the whole phrase in their new shoes. We're going to type in shoes, and here we go. So I suppose running shoes might be appropriate for this one, because we're running in the field. So insert this now, or we could use these ones. Absolutely, and same again, completely up to you. What symbols you use. I might just use these ones, for example. So as you can see, really easy to incorporate those symbols. So once we've created the activity, we can always go back into it and add those symbols. And I know, Tom, you mentioned, I don't know if you want to talk about this a little bit more, but making sure the sentence makes sense, like hiding the words and reading the sentence in the symbol. I don't know if you want to expand. I know we talked about that last week. If you want to talk about a bit more,
Yeah, it's important to when you're reading a sentence back, try and read the symbols without the text there, and does it make sense to you? So if I take those words away, would that make sense? Because symbols can sometimes be very abstract on there, but it looks like the ones that you've chosen there are fine. Yeah, absolutely fine. And I suppose it's with how familiar they are to the learner as well. It's important, I think, to be consistent probably as well in the symbols that you're using. So if you are using a symbol approach with a learner, for example, you've got the symbol for girl there, being consistent with that, you know, always using that same symbol, so that they can help remember and understand what that symbol conveys.
Yeah, and of course throughout this, you know, we've just picked out, you know, a couple of examples to show, you know, how we create these, and of course, got lots of people here today. So, for example, the girl, you might have a complete, like you just said, Tom, you might have your own system for that. So just apply what we just wanted to really kind of demonstrate today, you know, how you create these, and how we change the colors and add the symbols. And of course, you know, there'll be lots of schools here. So just sort of apply what you're already great at and apply that within Clicker with your own schemes of work and stuff like that. And same again, as I've just done that while you was talking there, Tom, when we click on the words, when we've got a symbol there or a picture, it will also go into the document. We can turn that off, of course, but it is an option that we have on there, which is great for when we print the document out, because you can see it will print off with those symbols above as well, which I do really like as well. And same again, if we print the resources off, the symbols will also be printed off alongside those as well. So we've created 3 of these activities, and we've edited them in lots of different ways. And we have used widget symbols. You can use your own images as well. And we do have a folder within Clicker. It does come with Clicker, and it's a folder called CritPics too, just so everyone's aware. They're not symbol based. They're kind of like clip art style images. That's kind of the way that I describe them. We've got about 5,000 to 6,000, so you can use our CritPics images if you wanted to. But of course, we've looked at widget symbols there. And then kind of got about 4 or so minutes left, so I just wanted to come on to the final thing that we wanted to talk about. And I suppose creating these activities, how much time, Tom, would you say that you've almost like saved when creating these activities through Clicker compared to what you might have done before you had Clicker in your role?
Yeah, well, when I first started using Colourful Semantics as an approach, I would develop the materials on the software, so on the program on a computer, and then I'd have to check all the colors are right, making sure all the symbols are correct, printing that out, cutting them out, you know, laminating them. Sometimes I'd use Velcro on the back. It was quite a big task, to be fair, to create the resources for Colourful Semantics. I'm sure a lot of teachers are out there thinking that they do the same probably at the moment. But when I found I was able to do it in Clicker, it was really quick. Last week I created some resources for a learner of mine, and I was able to do it, I think, create a few sentences within 10 minutes. I think another good thing about it is that being only human, we do make mistakes, and if you've created those resources and spent time printing them out and things, and then you find a mistake on there, it's harder to go and correct that. But when you're using Clicker, you can easily just go into edit grid set and do it straight away. I've also done it when I've created sentence sets with pupils as well alongside them. So it's been, you know, you don't always know what a pupil's going to say about a picture. You might have created all these resources, and then they throw a curveball and they've said something completely different that you weren't prepared for. So it's really great that you can just sort of go in there and edit that straight away. So it's just more fluid and dynamic way of working, I guess, using those sets. And I also like the way that you can print them off. So, you know, if you still really like having that tangible resource, then you can do that, you know. Or if you only got one computer in a class, you can print out a few different things, you know, because, you know, we've all been there, haven't we? It's being able to do that sort of thing that I think is, you know, really just saves teachers time, which is great.
Saving time. I wish I had Clicker when I was teaching. It's all about saving time while still having that appropriate resource for the learner that's going to help and support them. You know, what I know I mentioned it at the start, but within Clicker as well, we've got an area called Learning Grids. I won't go into this too much detail. I've just looked at the time there, but so of course we created free resources from scratch, but we do have in Learning Grids, you know, over 3,000 pre-made resources. As you can see, we've got loads in English. We've got, you know, phonics sections. We've got numeracy, shapes and color shapes and measurement, whole science section as well. And these are all pre-made. They come with the software. Geography, history, we've got collections in here as well, so about toys at the zoo, the Olympics, and we've even got a range of like pre-made reading books. I know we've not looked at those today, but Clicker's the learning grid within Clicker, that also saves us so much time as well. They're all pre-made, as you can see here. Just going into like geography, for example, we've got loads of reading books on the Great Barrier Reef. You've got the Connect sets built for you, and a lot of these, going back to that editing, we can edit these as well, changing those colors, adding those symbols in, so it kind of just saves you a little bit of time there, because we've already created like the outline for you. So yeah, definitely, if you've got Clicker, that's great. Have a look at learning grids, definitely, if you've not done that already. But I've just noticed the time here, so we've gone through quite a lot actually in the past 30 minutes. I just wanted to thank everyone for joining today. But what I'd recommend, if you do have Clicker, that's great, and hopefully today's giving you an insight into what Clicker can really do. I know we've looked at Colourful Semantics and widget support, symbol support today. If you don't have Clicker and you think it's a tool that you'd like to explore further, then I'd highly recommend booking in a one-to-one demo with myself, one of my colleagues. We'd be more than happy to look at the priorities for the school and really see how Clicker can fit in with your needs and the learners that you're wanting to support. So there will be a very short survey at the end that will ask you a couple of questions, and one of those will be, do you want to book in a demo, or do you want to find out more? So if you do, just let us know, and we will pop you some information over. But of course, we've recorded the session today, so you will get this in the next couple of days. But I just want to thank everyone for joining over this past half an hour. I hope you found it all useful, and hopefully thank you Rosie and Charlotte for answering any questions, and hopefully if you are interested in learning more about Clicker, hopefully we can speak to you in the next couple of weeks in terms of your school. But thank you very much, and Tom, thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate your insight into how you use it as well. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been great showing you all Colourful Semantics and symbol support within Clicker. So thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.